I still remember the rain pounding against the windows that night when Nathan told me it was over. 3 years together, thrown away for Vanessa, his high school sweetheart who had mysteriously reappeared in his life. "I'm sorry, Claire," he said, his eyes avoiding mine as thunder crashed outside. "What we had was beautiful, but she's the one I've always loved." I watched him walk out the door, leaving me alone in our apartment as lightning illuminated my tears. For months, I tried to piece myself back together while their perfect relationship played out across social media. Exotic vacations, engagement photos, wedding plans. Then came the message from his cousin Liam. "There's something you need to see." Security footage from Nathan's office building showing Vanessa slipping something into his coffee. Bank records revealing thousands transferred to a private investigator who had been following me. Screenshots of their conversations planning exactly how to make him leave me, timed perfectly with the biggest storm of the year, the night I needed him most. All this time I thought I'd lost him to fate, to a love that preceded me. But I was wrong. This wasn't about rekindled romance. It was an elaborate conspiracy. And now, as I park outside their picture-perfect suburban home, watching them through the window, I have all the evidence needed to bring their carefully constructed life crashing down. I met Nathan at a charity gala 3 years ago. I was there representing my marketing firm, and he was there on behalf of his architectural company. Our eyes met across the room, and it was like everything else faded into the background. His warm brown eyes and genuine smile caught my attention instantly. When he approached me with 2 glasses of champagne and said, "I thought you might need a break from networking," I knew there was something special about him. After that night, we were inseparable. Nathan was everything I ever wanted in a partner: thoughtful, ambitious, and kind. He remembered small details about things I mentioned in passing. He'd surprise me with my favourite coffee after a long day, or leave little notes around our apartment just to make me smile. I thought I'd finally found someone who loved me for who I really was. We moved in together after a year, and I truly believed we were building a future. We talked about marriage, about starting a family someday. Nathan's architectural firm was expanding, and my marketing agency was finally gaining recognition. Everything seemed to be falling perfectly into place, until Vanessa came back into his life. Nathan had mentioned her a few times before, his high school sweetheart who moved away senior year. They'd tried the long-distance thing for a while, but it hadn't worked out. He always spoke of her with a certain nostalgia, but I never felt threatened. After all, it was high school, and he was with me now. The day they reconnected was like any other day. Nathan came home from work, but something was different. He was distracted, checking his phone more often than usual. When I asked if everything was okay, he just said, "An old friend reached out, it's nothing." But it wasn't nothing. Over the next few weeks, Nathan changed. He started working late, missing our dinner plans, becoming irritable over the smallest things. When I tried to talk to him about it, he'd dismiss my concerns or turn it around on me, saying I was being paranoid or controlling. Then came that stormy night. The weather forecast had predicted the worst storm of the year. I remember feeling uneasy all day, like something terrible was about to happen. Nathan came home late again, soaked from the rain, his expression unreadable. "We need to talk," he said, and my heart sank. Those 4 words that never precede anything good. I sat down on our couch, the one we'd spent hours picking out together, while thunder roared outside. Nathan remained standing, creating a physical distance that mirrored what I'd been feeling emotionally for weeks. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," he started, his voice eerily calm. "And I can't do this anymore, Claire." "Do what?" I asked, though deep down I already knew. "Us. This relationship. It's not working for me anymore." The room seemed to spin. "Not working? Nathan, where is this coming from? If something's wrong, we can fix it. We can talk about it. There's nothing to fix, he cut me off. I've reconnected with Vanessa and it made me realise that what we have, it was never what I truly wanted. The words hit me like a physical blow. You're leaving me for your high school girlfriend. Lightning flashed, illuminating his face for a moment. He didn't even have the decency to look guilty. I'm sorry, Claire. What we had was beautiful, but she's the one I've always loved. I think, deep down, I've always known that. 3 years of memories, of building a life together, of loving him with everything I had, all reduced to beautiful but not enough. As he continued talking, explaining how he and Vanessa had reconnected, and how she understood him in a way no one else could, I felt myself going numb. Outside, the storm raged on, mirroring the chaos inside me. The rain pounded against our windows. No, my windows now, as Nathan packed a bag. He said he'd come back for the rest of his things later. And just like that, with one last, I'm sorry, he walked out the door. I collapsed onto the floor as soon as the door closed, my body racked with sobs. The storm outside continued all night, and so did my tears. I called in sick to work the next day and the day after that. Friends came by, brought food, offered comfort, but nothing could fill the Nathan-shaped hole in my life. The worst part was how quickly he moved on. Within weeks, his social media was filled with pictures of him and Vanessa at restaurants we used to go to, visiting places we'd planned to see together. She was beautiful, with long blonde hair and a perfect smile, always looking at Nathan adoringly. Each new post was like a knife twisting in my heart. Their captions made it seem like they were soulmates who had finally found their way back to each other after years apart. The narrative they created was almost poetic. High school sweethearts reunited by fate. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects, staying late at the office, anything to avoid going home to an empty apartment filled with memories. Friends tried to set me up on dates, but my heart wasn't in it. How could I trust anyone again when the man I thought was my future had walked away so easily? Months passed this way. Spring turned to summer and summer to fall. Nathan and Vanessa's relationship continued to progress at warp speed. They moved in together, adopted a dog. The golden retriever Nathan and I had talked about getting someday. Then came the engagement announcement, complete with professional photos and a heartfelt caption about finding his way back to his first love. I thought I was finally starting to heal, to accept that Nathan had made his choice and it wasn't me. Then came the message from Liam, Nathan's cousin. Liam and I had always gotten along well. He was at many of our family gatherings, and we'd maintained a friendly relationship even after Nathan left. His message was cryptic. There's something you need to see. Can we meet? We arranged to meet at a coffee shop across town, somewhere Nathan and Vanessa wouldn't likely go. When I arrived, Liam was already there, a manila envelope on the table in front of him. He looked troubled, fidgeting with his coffee cup. Thanks for coming, he said as I sat down. I've been debating whether to show you this for weeks. Show me what? He pushed the envelope toward me. I work in IT security, as you know. A few weeks ago, my company was hired to upgrade the security systems at Nathan's firm. While reviewing the old footage before deleting it, I found something concerning. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope. Inside were several printed stills from security footage, showing Vanessa at Nathan's office. In one image, she was clearly adding something to a coffee cup while glancing around furtively. These are dated 2 days before he left you, Liam explained. After seeing this, I got suspicious and did some digging. What I found, Claire, I don't think Nathan left you of his own free will. At least, not entirely. He pulled out more papers, bank statements showing large transfers from Vanessa's account to a private investigator, emails between them discussing Nathan's schedule, my schedule, our relationship patterns. There were even detailed notes about my insecurities and how to exploit them. The most damning evidence was a series of text messages between Vanessa and someone saved in her phone as chemist friend, discussing dosages of something called scopolamine, a drug known to make people highly suggestible while affecting their memory. "She's been drugging him?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "It looks that way," Liam confirmed. "Not constantly, but at strategic moments, especially before they had serious conversations about your relationship." I felt sick. All those times Nathan had seemed distant, confused, irritable. Had he been under the influence of something? Was that why he'd changed so suddenly? Why he'd walked away from everything we'd built together? "There's more," Liam said, pulling out his phone. "Look at this." He showed me a screenshot of a conversation between Nathan and Vanessa from just before our breakup. "V, remember our plan. The storm tonight is perfect timing. It's exactly what we discussed. N, I don't know if I can go through with this. I still care about her. V, you need to be strong. Remember what I told you about her, about what I found out. Trust me, it's better this way. Take your coffee. I added that special shot you like. It'll help with your nerves. N, okay, I'll do it tonight." "They planned it," I whispered, the realization dawning on me. She planned everything, even using the storm as dramatic backdrop. "Claire," Liam said gently, "I think Vanessa's been manipulating Nathan for months. These texts, the surveillance on you, the drugs. This wasn't a rekindled romance. This was a calculated attack." "But why? I never even knew Vanessa before this." Liam hesitated. "Nathan's firm has become incredibly successful. The contracts he's secured this year alone are worth millions, and Vanessa's family business was failing before they got together. Now, suddenly, her parents' construction company is the primary contractor on all of Nathan's major projects. It all started to make horrible sense. The timing of her reappearance in Nathan's life, the speed with which she integrated herself into his work, the convenient coincidences that brought them together. "What do I do with this information?" I asked, feeling overwhelmed. "That's up to you," Liam replied. "I just thought you deserved to know the truth." I left the coffee shop with my mind racing. For months, I'd been blaming myself, wondering what I'd done wrong, what I could have done differently to make Nathan stay. Now I knew it wasn't about me at all. It was about money, about business, about Vanessa orchestrating the perfect scheme to get what she wanted. Over the next few days, I reviewed everything Liam had given me. I consulted with a lawyer friend who confirmed that what Vanessa had done, drugging Nathan, hiring someone to follow me, was definitely illegal. I had enough evidence to go to the police, to destroy the life they'd built on lies. And yet, I hesitated. Part of me wanted revenge, wanted to watch their perfect facade crumble. But another part of me wondered if Nathan was truly a victim in all this. The texts showed reluctance, yes, but he'd still made a choice. He'd still walked out that door. After much deliberation, I decided I needed to confront Nathan directly, to see his reaction when presented with the evidence. Was he still being manipulated? Or had he become a willing participant in Vanessa's scheme? That's how I found myself parked outside their picture-perfect suburban home on a Friday evening. The house was exactly what Nathan and I had dreamed of owning someday. White picket fence, wrap-around porch, window boxes filled with flowers. It was like Vanessa had taken our dreams and made them her reality. Through the bay window, I could see them in the living room. Nathan was on the couch with a drink in his hand, while Vanessa moved around the room, talking animatedly about something. They looked like the perfect couple, the kind you'd see in a magazine spread. With the manila envelope clutched tightly in my hand, I took a deep breath and approached their front door. This confrontation would either give me closure or open up a new chapter I wasn't prepared for. Either way, I needed the truth, and so did Nathan. I raised my hand and knocked, 3 sharp raps that seemed to echo my heartbeat. The moment of truth had arrived. Nathan opened the door, and his expression shifted from casual curiosity to shocked recognition. "Claire," he stammered, his face paling. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said firmly, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. "It's important." Behind him, Vanessa appeared in the hallway. "Who is it, honey?" Her voice was sweet, but her expression hardened when she saw me. "Oh, what is she doing here?" "I have something both of you need to see," I said, holding up the envelope. Nathan looked confused, but he stepped aside to let me in. Our first interaction in nearly a year, and neither of us quite knew how to behave. The house was immaculate inside, decorated exactly as Nathan and I had once planned for our future home, neutral colours, clean lines, touches of blue throughout. It was like walking into an alternate reality of what my life should have been. "Make it quick," Vanessa said, crossing her arms. "We have dinner reservations." I opened the envelope and laid out the evidence on their coffee table, the security footage stills, the bank statements, the text messages. "I think you both need to explain this," I said. Nathan picked up one of the photos, his brow furrowed. "What is this? Where did you get these?" "It doesn't matter where I got them," I replied. "What matters is what they show. Vanessa has been drugging you, Nathan, for months, beginning before you broke up with me." His head snapped up, eyes wide with disbelief. "What? That's ridiculous." He turned to Vanessa. "Tell her that's ridiculous." But Vanessa's reaction wasn't denial or outrage. Instead, a cold smile spread across her face. "You always were too clever for your own good, Claire. But what exactly do you think bringing these here will accomplish?" Her calm admission stunned me. I'd expected denials, outrage, maybe tears, not this cool acknowledgement. "Vanessa, what is she talking about?" Nathan asked, his voice rising in panic as he picked up more of the evidence, eyes scanning the bank statements and text messages. "What is all this?" "It's nothing for you to worry about," Vanessa said, moving towards him and placing a hand on his arm. "Why don't you go get some water? You look pale." "Don't touch him," I snapped. "Don't you dare try to manipulate him again, right in front of me." Nathan jerked away from her touch, a flash of clarity in his eyes. "Vanessa, these bank statements? You paid someone $30,000 to follow Claire. And what's this about scopolamine? Have you been drugging me?" Vanessa's demeanour changed instantly, her sweet facade falling away. "You weren't supposed to see any of this. Everything was perfect. We were perfect." "Answer me," Nathan demanded, his voice stronger than I'd heard it in a long time. "Fine," she hissed. "Yes, I had you followed. Yes, I may have given you something to help you see more clearly. But I did it for us, Nathan. For our future." "Our future?" he repeated incredulously. "You've been drugging me, and you claim it was for our future?" "Your firm was finally taking off," Vanessa explained, her voice cold and calculated. "My family's company was about to go under. We needed those contracts, and you were wasting your potential with her." She gestured dismissively toward me. "So this was all about money?" Nathan looked devastated. "Our relationship, the engagement, it was all about securing contracts for your family's business." "It wasn't all about money," Vanessa insisted. "We were meant to be together. We always were. I just accelerated things." As they argued, pieces of Nathan's memory seemed to be returning. "The coffee at the office. You always insisted on bringing it to me. And those headaches I kept having. The memory lapses." "I did what I had to do," Vanessa said coldly. "And it worked. We got everything we wanted." "No," Nathan corrected, backing away from her. "You got what you wanted. I lost everything that actually mattered to me." He turned to me then, his eyes clearing as if waking from a long dream. Claire, I don't even know what to say. All this time, I've had these moments of confusion, these periods I couldn't quite remember clearly. Things I said and did that didn't feel like me. Save it, Nathan, I said, not ready to absolve him completely. You may have been manipulated, but you still made choices. You still walked out on me during the worst storm of the year, on a night when you knew I was terrified of being alone. I remember that night differently now, he said quietly. I remember feeling torn, like part of me was screaming not to leave. But it was like I was watching myself from outside my body, unable to change course. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Oh, please. You're acting like I forced you at gunpoint. I just helped you see what you really wanted. Deep down, you were never fully committed to her. I just brought your true feelings to the surface. My true feelings. Nathan's voice rose. You drugged me. You manipulated me. You made me believe Claire had done things she never did. He turned to me again. Claire, she told me you were cheating on me, that you were stealing from the company. She had doctored photos, fake emails, and after she'd slipped something in my drink, I'd believe anything she told me. The revelation hit me hard. All this time he'd thought I betrayed him first. No wonder he'd been able to walk away. In his mind, I was the villain. I need you both to leave, Nathan said suddenly, his voice firm. I need to think. I need to process all of this. Nathan, be reasonable, Vanessa started. Now, he cut her off. Vanessa, take your things and go. I don't want to see you here when I get back. Where are you going? She demanded. For a walk, a long one, and when I return, I expect you to be gone. He grabbed his jacket from the hook by the door. You can't just throw away everything we've built, Vanessa cried, desperation replacing her earlier confidence. We didn't build anything, Nathan replied coldly. You constructed a life on lies and manipulation. That's not a foundation that can last. As he opened the front door, he paused and looked back at me. Claire, I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't begin to cover it, but it's all I have right now. Can we talk? Not today, but soon. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. With one last, pained glance between us, Nathan walked out, leaving me alone with Vanessa. The silence in the room was deafening. Vanessa stared at me with pure hatred. Are you happy now? You've ruined everything. No, Vanessa. You did that all on your own, I replied, gathering up the evidence from the coffee table. And just so you know, I have copies of all of this. If you ever come near Nathan or me again, I won't hesitate to take this to the police. You wouldn't dare, she hissed. Try me, I challenged. Drugging someone without their knowledge is a serious crime, not to mention hiring someone to stalk me. I'm sure the police would be very interested in all of this. As I turned to leave, Vanessa called after me. He'll never love you the way he loved me. Even with all my help, part of him was always fighting to go back to you. Why do you think I had to keep dosing him? I stopped at the door. That's the difference between us, Vanessa. I don't need to trick someone into loving me. With that, I walked out, closing the door firmly behind me. In the driveway, I took a deep breath of the cool evening air, feeling as though a weight had been lifted from my shoulders. For months, I'd carried the burden of self-doubt, wondering what I'd done wrong, why I hadn't been enough. Now, I knew. It had never been about me at all. As I got into my car, I noticed Nathan sitting on a bench across the street, his head in his hands. Part of me wanted to go to him, to comfort him as he processed the betrayal he'd experienced. But I knew we both needed time. Him to untangle the web of lies he'd been caught in, me to decide if I could ever trust him again. I started the car and drove away, leaving behind the picture-perfect house, and the imperfect people inside it. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. Whatever happened next, whether Nathan and I found our way back to each other or went our separate ways, at least it would be based on truth. The following weeks were a blur of police reports, lawyer meetings, and long, emotional conversations. Nathan pressed charges against Vanessa for the drugging, and the evidence was overwhelming. Her carefully constructed world fell apart. The contracts with Nathan's firm were voided. Her family's company faced investigation for fraudulent practices, and she was looking at serious criminal charges. Nathan reached out to me several times, asking to meet, to talk, to explain. At first, I was hesitant. The wounds were still raw, the betrayal still fresh in my mind. But eventually, I agreed to coffee at a neutral location. Seeing him again, truly him this time, clear-eyed and present, was both familiar and strange. He looked tired, thinner than before, the strain of recent events evident on his face. "Thank you for coming," he said as I sat down across from him. "I know I don't deserve your time." "I came because I have questions that need answers," I replied honestly. "I'll tell you everything I can," he promised. "Some parts are still foggy, like looking through clouded glass. The doctors said the drugs affected my memory, created false associations, but I'm working through it in therapy." Over the next hour, Nathan explained how Vanessa had systematically isolated him, feeding him small doses of the drug in his coffee, creating doubt about our relationship, planting false memories. It had started small, subtle comments about how I seemed distant, how I was growing apart from him. Then came the doctored photos of me with an ex-colleague, the fake text messages she'd shown him. "The worst part," he said, his voice breaking, "is that part of me knew something was wrong. I'd have these moments of clarity where I'd question everything, where I'd miss you so intensely it physically hurt. But then she'd be there with another cup of coffee, another carefully crafted story, and I'd slip back under." "Why did you never question the timing?" I asked. "The sudden reappearance of your high school girlfriend just as your career was taking off?" "I did, occasionally," he admitted. "But she had an answer for everything. She'd moved back to be with her ailing mother. She'd been following my career for years, but was too nervous to reach out. And when I was under the influence, those explanations seemed perfectly reasonable." We talked for hours, untangling the web of lies that had torn us apart. Nathan was brutally honest about his role in everything. Even if he'd been manipulated, he acknowledged that some part of him must have been vulnerable to that manipulation in the first place. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," he said as our conversation drew to a close. "I don't deserve that, but I needed you to know the truth, all of it, and I needed to thank you for bringing that evidence forward. Without you, I might never have broken free." As I left that coffee shop, I felt a strange mix of emotions. Grief for what we'd lost, anger at the time stolen from us, but also a tentative sense of peace. The truth, painful as it was, had finally come to light. In the months that followed, Nathan and I maintained a cautious distance while he focused on his recovery, and I worked on rebuilding my life. Vanessa pled guilty to multiple charges and was sentenced to prison time. Nathan's firm survived the scandal, though he chose to step back temporarily to focus on his health. Slowly, carefully, Nathan and I began to rebuild. Not our relationship, not at first, but a friendship. Coffee meetings became occasional dinners. Brief texts evolved into long conversations. There were setbacks and difficult moments. Trust issues to work through, wounds that needed time to heal. A year after that stormy night when he'd walked out, Nathan and I found ourselves sitting on a bench in the park where we'd had our first date. The weather was perfect. Clear skies, a gentle breeze, nothing like the storm that had marked our separation. I've been thinking about fate, Nathan said quietly. How if Vanessa hadn't done what she did, we might have gone on happily for years. How one person's actions changed the course of all our lives. I've thought about that too, I admitted. But I've also thought about resilience, about how sometimes things fall apart so they can be rebuilt stronger. He turned to me then, his eyes clear and focused, truly present in a way he hadn't been during those final manipulated months of our relationship. I don't know if we can ever get back what we had, he said, but I'd like to try building something new if you're willing, something based on honesty and truth this time, with no manipulation, no lies. I thought about the journey we'd been on, the pain we'd both endured, the healing we'd begun. I thought about second chances and whether some things were worth fighting for. I think, I said slowly, that I'd like to try that too. As we sat there together, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant colours, I realised that sometimes the hardest storms bring the most beautiful moments of clarity. What Vanessa had intended as destruction had ultimately brought truth to light, and the truth, painful as it was, had set us both free. I don't know what the future holds for Nathan and me, whether this new beginning will lead to lasting happiness or simply be part of our healing process. But I do know that I'm no longer afraid of storms, literal or metaphorical. I've weathered the worst one of my life and come out stronger on the other side. And that knowledge, that strength, no one can ever take that away from me again.